Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
I have determined that it is in our vital national interest to send an additional 30,000 U.S. troops to Afghanistan.
I've committed more than 20,000 additional American troops to Iraq.
In Afghanistan, we and our allies prevented the Taliban from stopping a presidential election.
The elections of 2005 were a stunning achievement.
I insisted on a thorough review of our strategy.
It is clear that we need to change our strategy in Iraq.
As your commander-in-chief, I owe you a mission that is clearly defined.
Our troops will have a well-defined mission.
30,000 U.S. troops.
20,000 additional American troops.
Presidential election.
The elections of 2005.
Strategy. Clearly defined.
Well-defined mission.
This is Michael Savage. As I watched President Stooge Obama last night reading a puppeteer's script, I was actually saddened. I was depressed. In fact, I went home from the studio and had a couple of drinks because I realized that he's not running the country. I mean, we knew that from the beginning, but it's the same military-industrial complex that has been running America off the rails for a long time now that's still running America off the rails right now. Not only were there direct parallels between him and Bush, but there were direct parallels between Obama and Lyndon Baines Johnson in his speech to the nation on the night of March 31st, 1968. That's right. That's how far back this warmongering goes. Now, you know what happened in Vietnam. And I'm telling you as I sit here, I heard Obama's speech before, in part, when Bush gave it. I heard Obama's speech before when LBJ gave it in 1968. And I hope to God that I am wrong. I pray to God that I am wrong, but in my heart of hearts, I fear I'm right. And I see the same end as Vietnam here. You don't announce to an enemy your exit strategy and when you're leaving. They'll just wait it out. You don't say to the troops, they're wonderful people, and you don't say, we know you're going to win and on to victory. Not once did the word win come into Obama's speech. The word win was not spoken either by Obama nor by Lyndon Baines Johnson. Also, the parallels became increasingly obvious when he said, tonight, I want the Afghan people to understand America seeks an end to this era of war and suffering. See, Johnson had said, let men everywhere know that a strong and confident and a vigilant America stands ready tonight to seek an honorable peace. It gets worse by the second. Listen to 25 and 26. You're not going to believe what you're hearing.
So tonight, I want the Afghan people to understand. America seeks an end to this era of war and suffering.
Let men everywhere know, however, that a strong and a confident and a vigilant America stands ready tonight to seek an honorable peace.
Okay. Listen to 29 and 30 now.
Now, the people of Afghanistan have endured violence for decades. They've been confronted with occupation by the Soviet Union and then by foreign al-Qaeda fighters who used Afghan land for their own purposes.
That small, beleaguered nation has suffered terrible punishment for more than 20 years. I pay tribute once again tonight to the great courage and the endurance of its people.
Okay, so there we have Afghanistan and Vietnam in comparison. And again, in 31 and 32, listen to the eerie similarities.
We will seek a partnership with Afghanistan grounded in mutual respect, to isolate those who destroy, to strengthen those who build, to hasten the day when our troops will leave, and to forge a lasting friendship in which America is your partner and never your patron.
Over time, a wider framework of peace and security in Southeast Asia may become possible. The new cooperations of nations of the area could be a foundation stone. Certainly, friendship with the nations of such a Southeast Asia is what the United States seeks.
And now listen to what we've got for you now in the Savage Nation in 33 and 34.
In the end, our security and leadership does not come solely from the strength of our arms. It derives from our people.
The ultimate strength of our country and our cause will lie not in powerful weapons or infinite resources or boundless wealth, but will lie in the unity of our people.
Now, listening to LBJ, you know why so many people turn to marijuana and other drugs. You literally feel as though he himself is speaking while on glue. But putting the comedic aside, this is not comedy, this is tragedy. It may as well be the same cast of characters that ran America off the rails during the Vietnam War all over again. Instead of whoever the defense secretary is today, I think it's Gates, we had a despicable creature as defense secretary under LBJ named McNamara. Same exact mentality. No win, just peace and friendship. Not from the barrel of a gun, but from the barrel of a beer or something like that. We're going to be all friends. And that's why we lost in Vietnam, because we didn't use the barrel of a gun. We used instead this rubbish about peace with the Vietnamese. Now, if we haven't learned from our defeat in Vietnam, which apparently we have not learned, how in heck do you think we could possibly do anything that is successful, vaguely, remotely help me here, successful in Afghanistan? I am not the only one here. I may be an independent conservative who tends to the right side of things, which is true, but there are those on the left who are rational, whose politics I don't agree with, but they're rational. They're not irrational leftist psychos. They're not from ACT UP or whatever those groups are called, whatever those groups are. I don't even remember the madness of these groups. But Feingold is a mainstream leftist who himself, in clips 35, tells you what he thinks of Obama's speech. Listen.
The president says we're doing this, we're adding 35,000 troops to finish the job. And I ask the question, what job? Because the president has been so eloquent in pointing out that our issue is fighting al-Qaeda. The argument falls apart when you realize that al-Qaeda does not have its headquarters in Afghanistan anymore. It is headquartered in Pakistan. It is active in Somalia, in Yemen, North Africa, affiliates of it in Southeast Asia. Why does it make sense to have a huge ground presence in Afghanistan to deal with a small al-Qaeda contingent when we don't do that in so many other countries where we're actually having some success without invading the country and attacking those that are part of al-Qaeda? It doesn't make sense.
And Feingold, Senator Russ Feingold, said he will vote against funding President Obama's Afghanistan plan, which is pretty amazing. He's actually going to put his vote where his rhetoric is, which is very unusual in political circles. Now, in 36, he spells it out even more clearly, his discontent with Obama. Listen to that one.
There's no sense at all of how long we'll stay there. The withdrawal doesn't even begin for a year and a half, and then there's absolutely no commitment to finishing the withdrawal. It simply says we'll begin a withdrawal. So, it's nice to hear the notion that we might not be staying there forever, but there's no meat on the bones. And so that troubles me a great deal. You have this huge surge of troop buildup without any clear exit strategy. And my question is, what are we going to accomplish with all the human sacrifice and economic sacrifice in the next 3 years that is going to be much better than what we have now? I'm extremely skeptical, and it will not help us in any significant way in the worldwide struggle against al-Qaeda.
Well, you heard it both from the right and the left. Obama has failed miserably. But let's go back to my opening for a minute. My montage comparing Obama to Bush, I think, says it all. But I then went on to show you the comparisons between Obama and Lyndon Baines Johnson in his March 31, 1968 exit strategy in Vietnam speech. Both pledged to end the war, not to win it. The word win wasn't spoken in either speech. The word victory was not mentioned in Obama's. Obama said, tonight I want the Afghan people to understand America seeks an end to this era of war and suffering. And what did Johnson say back in 68? Let men everywhere know that a strong, a confident, and a vigilant America stands ready tonight to seek an honorable peace. So what they're talking about is the same thing. And what I'm afraid of is the same ending. I'll be right back.